Hey guys, I want to do another quick video going over kind of how I mix my paints. Learning about paints and how to mix them was probably one of my biggest learning curves. And I am completely going to do this from the perspective of I am not an artist, I'm a hobbyist. So these are going to be absolutely layman terms. So if you're an artist, you know the actual terms and you want to correct me, feel free. But these are just terms that I go by when I do my stuff. So you'll mostly deal with 3 different kinds of paints. You'll have your kind of thicker paint. And when you go to mix this kind of paint, for me, generally I will add the water to this one first to kind of thin it out, to get it to a much thinner viscosity before I'll add the Floetrol. I'll try to get it down to at least something like these ones. This is the one I'm going to mix up today. Or something like just your basic craft paint. These you don't have to thin out too much. And then these fluid acrylics, I don't add any water to these. I actually have to thicken these up a little bit to work with them. They're very watery, but the pigment in them is very rich. This is actually Prussian blue. As you can see, it's very dark. But it's also very watery, so obviously you don't want to add any water to that. But you get the most bang for your buck because you get a very good pigment in those. So those are generally the 3 kinds of paint that you'll generally work with. It all depends on, honestly, sometimes what's on sale at the craft store, what colors I like, what colors I feel like working with. There's really for me, no preference, just whatever I feel like picking up and working with. Like I said, this is the one I'm going to be mixing up today because I'm going to use it to work on a commission piece. I generally start by just squeezing some amount in the cup. Now with this one, since it's a little bit thicker than the general craft paint, I'm going to add some water first. So as you can see, that'll break that down now into where it's about the consistency of that craft paint, where it's a little bit thinner, a little bit easier to work with now. And then I will start adding the Floetrol. Again, some people have really specific ratios for these. I don't, because like I said, I do this as a hobby, so I don't tend to get very technical with it. But generally, it's about 1/3 paint to 2/3 Floetrol, and then water to fix consistency issues, generally. But this is why I don't bake. I'm not a very specific to ratio kind of person. So in one of my last videos, I talked about how if you're doing something like a Dutch pour and you want kind of runny your paint, you don't want it to mound when it hits the bottom of the cup. See, it's kind of mounding up when it hits the bottom. It's a little bit too thick for I would want it for a Dutch pour. But if I was going to do what they call a dirty pour, or like a tree ring pour, one of those ones where they just kind of pour it in a cup and then dump it on a canvas, this would be an okay consistency for that. But the commission I'm doing is a Dutch pour. So I'm going to do a little bit more Floetrol. And then start adding a little bit more water. Some paint is easier to mix than others. Some of the thicker paint, it will break down for a little while, especially in the water before it really starts to integrate itself. Just kind of got to be patient and really mix it up well. Otherwise, when you get it onto the canvas, you'll realize that you didn't mix it up real well. You'll get a few lumps. You have to pick them out. It's kind of annoying, but then you learn for the next time. It's getting a little bit better. A little bit more water. Okay, it's starting to not mound. That's pretty much what you're going for. Just a little bit thicker than regular water. So if you're going to use it right away, you can just keep it in the cup you mixed it in. If you're going to use it a little bit later, like I am, I keep my paints in these kind of bottles. You can get them at like Walmart. I think they're like 98 cents. You can get them at the dollar store for like $2 for $1. I'm sure you can get them cheaper in bulk elsewhere, but like I said, they'll keep for several weeks. The most you might have to do is mix them up a little bit. Just shake them in the bottle before you use them. And then this makes it real easy to squeeze it out onto a canvas. The only thing you might want to make sure that you do is before you squeeze them out, just make sure the cap is like a little bit wiped off, because it will dry a little bit around the nozzle, and then you get kind of dried paint up on your canvas. So that's how I mix my paint. Again, if you have any questions, let me know. I'll either try to answer them or point you to someone who has much more knowledge on the subject than I do. I hope you enjoyed.